The 25th Hour Radio Show. First of all, Michael, thank you very much for donating a few minutes of your time and joining me on the show today.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
Michael and Stryper have a new album dropping this Friday titled Fallen. But before we get into that, Michael, would you please give my listeners a little background information? Stryper is a metal band, but it's a Christian-themed metal band. Has it always been that way from the beginning?
It has. We were a hard rock / metal band that decided to devote our lives and our band to God back in 1983 into 84, and we've been doing it ever since. We don't like to be referred to as a Christian band. We like to be referred to as a rock band that's comprised of Christians. But, you know, we're a rock band. When you come see Stryper, it's like going to see Van Halen or Judas Priest or any other rock metal band. The only difference with us is, you know, our lyrical content is very positive and directs people to God's love versus Satan's hate, you know?
Yeah, and I understand where you're coming from because I had comedian Tim Hawkins on the show. I don't know if you're familiar with Tim.
I am familiar, yes.
Yeah, and Tim educated me on the same thing. He said, you know, because he's referred to as a Christian comic, and he said, well, you know, I'm a comedian, right? I mean, you don't call a plumber a Christian plumber or somebody like that. He likes to be referred to just as a comic, but he is a Christian as well. So I do understand where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, and for some reason, we like to label things, and especially music. Quite honestly, it just gets confusing, and there's just too many labels. It's like, you know, you have all these different types of rock and metal and this and that, and it just gets crazy.
Now, Michael, I know from personal history that being Christian isn't easy. You know, it's a big decision to become a Christian. It's the most important decision a person can make in their life, but it's not easy. And I say that to you because I know it had to be tough to mesh a Christian message with a metal sound and to have it click with everybody, especially in the infancy of the band. What kind of feedback were you getting at first?
Well, I mean, we still get some of the same feedback today, not as much. But, you know, at first it was a shock, definitely a lot of negative feedback. I mean, we came to know God through Jimmy Swaggart, and Jimmy Swaggart's people back in the day were out protesting our shows with bullhorns. So, you know, we've seen all that, and it's a little disheartening. And there's that side of it. You know, the church or Christians, you know, protesting what we do or not understanding what we do. And then there's the mainstream side of it where, you know, mainstream metal or secular metal, if you want to refer to it as that, they don't get us either. And, you know, a lot of times we don't get given the chance that we should have. You know, and most of the time it's based on ignorance. People just either haven't heard us or don't know what we're about.
It's just a stereotype, right? It's just a stereotype.
Exactly. They're basing it on a picture they saw, or you know what I mean? So it's just typical worldly mentality, that's all. It's unfortunate, but the way it goes.
And here you guys are still going strong. You're a little bit older, right? But it happens to the best of us.
It does. And, you know, the key is we are still going strong. I feel stronger than we've ever done. We're very busy. We've turned in the past 3 years, we've turned in 4 albums.
Yeah, you've been busy.
Very, very busy.
Yeah, I mean, and time does fly, you know what I mean? And I've listened to the new album, and it's fantastic, man. I mean, it grabs a hold of you from the very beginning with the very first song, Yahweh. What made you decide to have Yahweh as the leadoff track on this album? Because it is so epic, you know what I mean?
Well, that's why, exactly. I felt like it was the most powerful, and it had the most to say and the most shock value. You know, that's the song that makes people's chins hit the floor and say, what? This is Stryper? You know, so I felt it was a perfect leadoff track.
Now, is that you at the very beginning in the
choir?
Yeah, the choir, the monkish type sound?
Yeah, that's Oz and I, and we multi-tracked that many times. We did each part 4 or 5 times, and there's probably 6 parts, and we just kept building it until it sounded like a choir. And then we put some effects on it and reverb, and there you go.
Are you getting any kind of feedback on that song from fans who have heard it?
Oh, yeah, people seem to really love it. And it's funny because the critics that don't like Stryper typically really like that.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I think it's a perfect song to jumpstart that album. Now I know we can't talk about every song on the album, but I do want to mention one other song because everyone loves a Stryper ballad, and I want to talk about the track "All Over Again." And I've read where you've said this isn't a hair ballad or a piano ballad. It's different. What do you mean by it being different?
Well, you know what? It's a rock ballad. It's more of a guitar. It's a guitar-based ballad. There's slide guitar. It takes you back almost to the '70s. Got a little bit more of that classic retro sound to it. Stryper's typically known when we do ballads. Most of the time they have piano in them,
Mm-hmm.
and they're a little more syrupy. This isn't that at all. It's just a straight-ahead rock and roll ballad. It sounds like a song maybe Bon Jovi could do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's
more in that line.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It's going to be right up there in the lines with honestly, I think after it's all said and done.
I think so. It's a powerful song, and people seem to really like that too. And we felt led to put a ballad on there, and we wanted to. It's nice to kind of midpoint of an album like Fallen to kind of have a breather for a few seconds.
Yeah, you guys in Stryper have been a team now for so long. Is it easier to put an album of this quality together since you do have that chemistry between you?
Well, you know what? It really is for me. I mean, I work well under pressure, and typically the way it works for me is I'm so busy, I can't start working on an album until, that exact specific scheduled time. And then I have a window. I have a week or I have 2 weeks to do it, to write 12 songs. And that's the way it was for Fallen. I wrote all the songs, put them all together except for the cover in 9 days. Going into 10 days, the guys came out and I taught them the songs. I'm working on a solo album right now, and I've got a few weeks to complete it. I just started writing, so it's do or die, and I work well under that kind of pressure.
Now, do you think this is the best album you've released to date?
I do. I don't think it. I know it. I personally listen to it, and I know in my heart, and it resonates with me as the best album ever that Stryper's done. And I shouldn't say by a landslide, because I got to say the last album we released, that was our best album to date. And then Fallen, I think, has surpassed it. But No More Hell to Pay is right up there. And I can listen to No More Hell to Pay and Fallen and not cringe anywhere in throughout the sequence. When I listen to old albums, there are cringe moments for me.
Now, I just want to reiterate to everyone listening, I'm just like everyone else when I buy a new album. I'll skip through the beginnings of each song, and if it catches my attention, I'll play it all the way through. And I'm not just saying this. There is no skipping songs on this album. You guys have really outdone yourself with Fallen, and I know you can't wait until Friday.
Well, I can't, man. It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about it for 6 months, and we try our best. Maybe we fail sometimes, but we give our all and try our best to never have any filler material on an album. That's a big no-no to me. And unfortunately, I've been around bands. I've been in the studio with bands. I've heard them say it. Like, don't spend too much time on this one. This is a B-side. Don't worry about it. And I just can't even believe when I hear comments like that. To me, that's the sad state of music right now. That's why a lot of bands' albums just are mediocre, or there's one or two good songs on them. Stryper always strives to have all the material be equally as strong as the track prior to. All the music be the same.
Michael, is there anything else you would like to add before we start to wrap things up? I know you mentioned a solo project earlier.
I'm working on a solo album. I'm going to start working on another Sweet Lynch album next year. Stryper's going to be touring heavily throughout the year. There's a lot to come, a lot more to do, and we feel like we're in our prime right now. We're ready to take it on, man. It's like bring it on, and we're ready to get in there and do it.
Everyone, make sure you pick up your copy of Fallen this Friday. Check out Stryper's website, www.stryper.com, for all the latest news and information on the band, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. Michael, thank you very much for joining me on today's show.
Hey, brother, thank you for having me, and to all the listeners out there, thank you guys for supporting us. And Friday's coming soon. It's a few days away, and God bless you guys. We'll see you on the road.
25th Hour Radio Show.